Listen, ladies, we've been getting a lot of comments, a lot of requests for how do I heal? Well, yeah, we were once in your place as well. We're almost still asking the same question. And so this podcast is simply us trying to figure it out as well. The beginning step is self-awareness. Get fully in tuned with yourself, your traumas, your needs, your desires. Start listening to yourself, your womb space, what comes from deep within you. Don't worry about what's happening with so-and-so and what's happening over there. What's happening here in this present body, in this present experience. Start getting very real with yourself. And then we'll learn a little bit more along the way. So stay tuned. We have a lot to talk about.
Return home to yourself. This is your space to reconnect, to realign, and to embrace the fullness of who you are. Welcome to the Return Home podcast, where we're diving deep into all things womanhood. Unfiltered, honest, and empowering. Let's get into it.
All right, ladies, let's chat about the complete catastrophe
Oh, jeez.
that happened. Oh, man, recording a podcast and stepping out into a new project, something we've never done before, has come with more obstacles than we expected. So tell us a little bit about it, Ashley.
The editing has been super fun. And we have had a lot of learning lessons along the way. And we are hoping to correct all those and give you guys some quality content. So today we will be diving into why women need safety and how to find your own safety and create safety in your own home, in your own heart. And go ahead, Bria, open us up.
So for the woman, our biological need is safety. Safety in our bodies, in our sexuality, in the way that we live. And so when our safety is threatened, we are in full defense. There is like no thinking involved. There is no plotting or planning. You are just going complete red. And so when our safety is not provided for us, we have to learn to give it to ourselves when outside sources may not be conducive to our safety. For a woman to be not on guard, not flustered with anxiety, not living in fear, our safety has to be fully intact. And so what does it even truly mean to have safety? And so, Mom, I know that from a young age, your safety was threatened. And so let's talk a little bit today about what age you were and when your safety was taken from you and threatened.
Whoa. Looking back, I don't know where it would start except for the fact that my dad left when I was 4. So there went some abandonment and what you should have a father there for safety. So I feel like probably at 4 it started. Then you end up with some sexual abuse with a family member. And when you go to your mother and ask her explain to her what has happened, and nothing is done. And I remember explaining to her what had happened, and she walked away from me. At 7 years old, that was huge right at that point in my life, that I can distinctly remember I'm not safe. And so I remember standing there thinking, how am I going to protect myself from this man who's big, older? You're a little girl. You don't know what you're going to do. So my sense of safety was gone. I could no longer trust my mom. And you had nobody else. You didn't have a father to go to. So you're stuck there and then you do go into that fight or flight mode. It's almost like I've lived there, I feel like, all my life, fighting for protection. And it was not there.
Yeah, I think the main essence for a woman, our main safety comes from the father. Is that father providing? Is he protective? Is he keeping me from harm? And so when that relationship is not there, or it is severed by abandonment or its own abuse, a woman now has to operate in fight or flight, in fear, because her safety is now threatened.
And the subconscious will remain that way. So when you say you've been there or you've been feeling this way your entire life, no matter how safe you may feel, in your marriage or going on through life, once you find your friends and you start to feel that safety, any little bit of a threat to that safety will put your subconscious all the way back.
Yeah,
you will continue to live in that fight or flight until you can fully restore that confidence in having safety. And that's why it's so important to find it. It's so important to find that in yourself, in your friends or your community, hopefully in a partner, husband, that you can fully find that safety, because with safety comes freedom. The freedom to be able to relax, the freedom to be able to be yourself, the freedom to be able to speak and not feel like you have to shrink. Those things will come when you have the safety. I guess going back to that, how have you over the last years worked on providing that safety, whether it's come from yourself or somebody else? What have you personally done to get there?
You have to, right away, I remember at 7 thinking, how am I going to now, I love my grandma and I love going to her house. So now I don't have protection, and so I have to no longer go to my grandma's. So you start adjusting who you hang out with. That was a big thing. I would find people who I could feel safe with. And you want that. You want to be able to be with people who you can open up to, be yourself with. So I think that was one of the things as I started learning, okay, number one, I can't go to my grandma's. Cut that off, which was very hard. It was very hard to not be able to go spend time with her. I wanted out of my house because I wasn't safe there. And you would think you could go to your grandma's and feel safe. So that was very sad. So you do start adjusting your values, and then who you hang out with is probably one of the hugest things. And it's sad because you have to go into that protective mode. So then you start cutting yourself off from people. You almost, it's like a protective wall that we all put up when we're hurt. And then sometimes you won't let people in who should be in your life. So you have to recognize who is of value to me. I think those were some things, is just learning who I could be around. But I think a lot of it for me is who I would hang out with, where I would go, was my first start of protecting myself. But then it kindles into relationships with men. You got to be very careful. You don't want any more sexual abuse, so you're trying to find the right man. You're dating. That's one of the things you get older. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just who you're hanging out with. I remember a story where I was in bed sleeping, and I woke up I must have been having a dream. I woke up and I see all these Halloween masks, and I envision it today. I still remember. It was very real. And I freaked out, and I got up and went and tiptoed over these masks, I thought, and went into my mom's room and woke her up. And I said, there's masks, or whatever I said, in my room. And she came in and turned on the light, and there was nothing there. But I remember she just walked away and went back to bed. And I had to process this, and I did. Okay, I got to go back to bed. Nothing's here. I am fine. It's okay. But that is when your mother should come in and lay with you even and say, it's okay. It's all right. You're going to be fine. But I was left there to process that.
I would say that the beginning of this is the realization that I'm alone and I have to provide my own safety.
Mm-hmm.
And when a woman has to feel that and operate from that for almost the rest of your life, then do we see why we still carry that same fear, that same I have to provide my own safety because nobody else can do it for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, all through life, we go through things from birth and on where no matter how protective your dad is or your parents are, I mean, you would do that. We got scared, you would come lay with us and make sure we were okay if we had a bad dream. And we had a father in the home that would provide and protect. But there's always going to be things that you go through that are going to slowly start taking that safety away. And being able to communicate not only with ourselves, but with the people we are around and explain what makes you feel safe, what makes you not feel safe. Communication is such an important key all through life to be able to say, and I know as you're younger, you don't know how to communicate that much. When you're losing safety, you don't know how to communicate what you need. You know, you can feel what you need, but you don't know always how to communicate it. And I think going into adulthood, especially into relationships, being able to communicate that, because one little argument with your spouse is not, it can make you feel unsafe. And like you said, you go red and you don't think rationally, but you have to be able to pull yourself into the thought of, okay, I am safe, but this certain circumstance is not making me feel that way. So what do we do to change the circumstance? What do we do to change our subconscious thinking? Communicate that with your spouse. Hey, this conversation isn't going the way I want, or what you are asking me to do or what we have to do is not making me feel comfortable. And they can adapt as well. So being able to communicate your feelings and what you're going through is really going to help the person that you're with be able to provide more safety for you. Because what feels safe for you may not be what feels safe for me. So we do have to communicate that with each other and the people that we're with to be able to get that consistently.
Yeah. Well, I think that the first initiation into this is to actually ask ourselves, what does make us feel safe? What threatens our safety? Because if you don't know either, then almost anything can make you feel threatened, or almost you'll use anything to give you safety.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so when we actually define what threatens my safety, what already has threatened my safety, and who do I need to inform about my safety, it is the people around you. It is one, yourself, then your partner, and your closest friends.
Yeah.
But as a man, I do not believe that men should be telling us this, because we need to know that they are our safety. So when they give us, like, oh, if they are telling us, oh, these are my fears, or this is what threatens my safety, then we are now taking on that fear for them. Mm-hmm. So our men or our partner needs to remain more stable, more secure in their safety and in that protective mode, so that we feel secure. And I think that is the role of a masculine partner, is to provide that.
Yep.
That is at their core what they can provide us.
Yep.
They need to know that your job is safety for the female. But all too often in today's society, men have lost that role and they no longer provide women any type of safety. And now women are on guard all the time.
Well, and women have taken a role where they believe that they are the only person they can trust.
Yes.
So now we are finding our own financial safety. We are finding our own protective safety. We are finding our own spiritual safety. We're doing it all for ourselves because that is what they're here to provide. They are here to provide the structure, the stability, the financial safety. And there's a difference between a man that is providing control and trying to take control of you compared to a man who is providing healthy masculine protection. So a lot of women are trying to find what makes you safe. Don't fall for the fake safety that can be manipulated out there, because having control over your life is not safety. And some women do feel like it is because it can feel like protection. It mimics it very well. And we have to be very conscious of what's being provided to us, because healthy masculinity is going to not shrink us. It's going to make us feel more of ourselves. So if you're under a toxic control that is making you feel overwhelmed, you still feel small, you still feel like you can't tell that person what you need to tell them, you can't speak your mind, you can't act a certain way, those are things that is not protection, that is not safety, that is, you are walking on eggshells, and it's not, safety is not being provided to you.
It's true. I think if women recognize how important safety is and identify safety over comfort,
Yes.
or complacency, because we will settle. I've done that in my life, dating men and getting married. You find yourself, well, he doesn't do this, but he does do this.
Yeah.
But what you needed was that, not this.
Yeah.
I don't care that you can provide for me financially. I need emotional. I need to be able to come to you and pour my heart out, explain what has happened or how I'm feeling, and that man wrap their arms around you, the wife, the woman, and hug her and say, it's okay.
Yep.
I'm right here for you. They don't have to have the answer. But women will settle for those things just because they don't want to argue and they feel it's comfortable.
A man that just automatically, as soon as you start talking about things that how you don't feel safe or what you need provided in your life, if they start to completely shut down and go into their inner child and start to get angry or lose the logic, just like we would if we're not feeling safe because they're feeling attacked, that's because they're still healing too. They're still working on things as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, a man, his essence is his territory.
Yes.
So how we communicate our safety to him, it can feel like an attack.
Yes.
So of course, he's going to go red just like we go red. So if you're attacking his territory, that's not the best way to approach your needs.
Yep.
It's find a better communication to explain exactly, this is where I felt my safety is threatened. And how can we come together to provide that safety for me?
Yep.
Not, you're doing this wrong, or you are making me not feel safe, because then instantly he's going to see red. And so defining first what it is that I need, what needs to be provided to me, as well as not all of our safety can be provided from him. We do need our sisters.
Yes.
We need community to support us emotionally as well.
Yep.
And when we don't have that, we can feel alone.
Yes.
When you have a community of women behind you, holding you up and being that emotional support, that is what will provide a lot of safety, and rather than having our partner only being that source.
Yeah. You can't depend on one person for everything. And they're not going to be able to provide everything we need. So we do need friends in our lives. We need other people in our life that are able to provide the rest of what we need, because everyone's also on a different level too of understanding, and you may be able to understand me more and what I'm going through at this moment than my husband can at this time, because he's like, I'm not a woman. I don't understand this. I can be here. I can sit here for you. I can hold you, but I truly don't understand what you're feeling. And if you need that extra connection, it's going to be with the women around you.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a 100% a very important part of your life is finding the women around you that you can relate to, that aren't judging you, that aren't competing with you, that truly just want to be there for you. Because when you know that someone, even if they haven't gone through what you've gone through, they're going to relate in some way. Yeah. So no, I may not have experienced sexual abuse, but I'm able to be the comfort that you may need, because I've also felt unsafe in many ways. So yes, finding your community is 100% the best way.
I do think there is a level of sisterhood that has made us not feel safe either. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When we get into friendships that you know that this person may be talking bad about every one of their friends, where why would you want to tell this individual your pain or the things that are going on in your life when you know that this individual might go tell the next individual?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've lost that safety within our own kind, our own women.
Yes.
And that's where we begin to shut our voice down.
Yep.
And I think that is the true essence of our safety, is that we've lost our voice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When these things happen to us, when we're abused, when our safety is threatened, we shut our voice.
Yep.
Because what I think is so amazing is that our womb and our throat is connected. Our womb is the essence of our safety. And when that safety is threatened, so is our throat. And we shut our voice.
Yep.
Because we're afraid.
Yes.
But restoring the connection from our womb to our throat can restore our safety.
Yep.
I had a friend who was over, and she started opening up about some sexual abuse that she had had, and she was almost afraid to share with me. And when she did, I said, "It's happened to me too," and she was shocked. She said, "It happened to you?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "It happens to probably, I would say 90% of women. Unfortunately, this day and age we're living in now." And so I shared my story with her and how it was my grandfather, and she was shocked. But she had never shared her story with anybody because she didn't trust. Mm-hmm. And I understand that, because I've shared my story with some people and they doubt you. They look at you like, what? So yeah, finding somebody that you can trust, and it is very hard with women. But we go back for a minute to communication and with your spouse, that we tend to put demands in where you say, "This is how I'm feeling, and if you don't do this, I'm done." We demand of them. We should not demand. We shouldn't have to demand. But coming in a place of love and saying, "Listen, I'm hurting. This is what I'm going through." When they're not feeling threatened, they can wrap their arms around you and hug you and console you and understand. So communication is so huge. Even with other women, communication is very huge.
When you're talking about communication with your husband, they don't know exactly what you're needing. Because a lot of times for people that have been sexually assaulted or have gone through different experiences where their safety was ripped from them, certain things that holding you may not be the option. So to be able to communicate what you need, how you need to be loved, and in a soft and gentle way, coming back to our soft girl era of actually genuinely just being able to communicate, this is how I'm feeling. I may not need a ton of affection. I may not need a ton of attention, but if you could just listen for a minute. And I know the first thing men want to do a lot of times is fix your problem.
Right.
And sometimes you just have to say, okay, I'm not coming to you for advice. I just need you to listen for a second. And learning to do that back to them as well, will provide the communication.
I think allowing men to hold that virtue of, I need you to be that safe place for me, it will allow them to feel fully in their true essence. And they want to be depended on. They want to provide that for us. And when we allow that to happen, I know that for a period of our marriage, when I was, maybe feeling emotionally unstable, Tony would want to just hold me and hug me. And it was like, no, don't do that. And it took me about 2 years into our marriage for me to fully accept that and actually embrace just simply being held in those moments. Because at first I was not. It was like, this is actually not safe for me at all. This is not what I need. You're in my space. And so now, as I've restored that and allowed him to take on this role of being that provider of my safety, it has been such a tremendous change in our marriage, to where I actually curl up into him sometimes, and I'm just like, just let me cry. Let me get this out. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. Yeah. And I will feel better.
Yeah.
In a short period of time. Give me 30 minutes of just crying into your chest.
Yeah.
You know what I noticed? Funny thing, about a year ago, I noticed myself when I must have been going through something emotional, I don't know. And John came over to hug me, and I noticed I did this, and he wrapped his arms around me. And as I'm standing there and with him hugging me, and I'm going, what am I doing? And then when I backed up, I examined myself and said, why did you just cross your arms? I was protecting my heart because I've been hurt so much. Yet I'm with a man who loves me unconditionally, extremely, amazingly, and I'm safe with him. But it was that child still going, I know you love me and you're trying to help me right now, but I don't trust. Mm-hmm. So now I've been very aware, because I'll catch myself go to do this every time he'll go to hug me. So now I don't. I make sure I am wrapping my arms around him. Mm-hmm. That heart-to-heart connection is very important. Mm-hmm. But those little things, if women will catch themselves doing certain things, that you're finding your way to protect yourself. And that was it.
Yeah.
I was almost in tears when I found I did that. Oh my goodness.
I think one of the hardest parts of finding safety is actually letting your guard down enough to be safe or get that safety from someone else.
Yeah.
We've learned over the years how to provide it for ourselves, and maybe not in the best ways either.
No.
But we've been trying to self-soothe and trying to cope, and we have all these mechanisms that we've created, and sometimes we have to slowly, as you get around the people that you can trust, is to be able to let those beliefs go, let those coping mechanisms go a little bit, let your guard down, and let someone be able to provide that for you when you've been providing it for yourself this whole time. And I think throughout life in different circumstances, people are going to have to find the balance in that. The balance of letting someone provide your safety and also being okay to provide your own. It's safety comes from all different aspects. I'm going to need a little bit from you guys. I'm going to need a little bit from myself. I'm going to need some from my husband as well. And once we have all of it is when we can fully let our guard down and feel safe.
Yeah, it's a collective of resources.
Yes.
What are my resources that I need in this moment? Do I need my husband? Do I need my sisters? Do I need my girlfriends? Do I need myself? And knowing, being in tune with your body and your mind to know this is the tool that I need. I have to call my mom.
Yeah.
I have to call my husband.
Yeah.
I actually, in this one, I just need to sit in my room and breathe.
Sometimes that, Brianna,
Yeah.
you just have to sit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to sometimes just sit and cry. Sometimes I know all three of us have a hard time crying. Unfortunately, that's what I've put on.
I don't.
Yeah, you really don't. You really don't. We struggle with letting our emotions release, and women do these days because we're afraid. Okay, when we cry, we're weak. Oh God, I don't want to show that. I don't want to feel that. Healing is hard. Healing is so hard because you do need to sit down and just sit in that moment and go, okay, where have I come from? What has happened? And release it with crying sometimes. Maybe not, but if that's what it has to take, sit in that moment. We don't want to sit down and ponder on what has happened in our life and how can we heal. We're just go, 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 so I don't have to think about it. This is why people drink all the time. They don't want to deal with their problems, or they run to certain things because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to face it. Let me numb the pain. It's so much easier to numb it than to face it. Out of fear because you don't have somebody to lean on. That's one of the things. But facing it can be very hard, very scary.
Sometimes when our safety is threatened, we tend to go into that fight or flight mode where, what do? We have this heightened state of stress. So we are manic, continually doing for everyone around me instead of addressing where my safety has been threatened. And I can maybe do so much that I forget about maybe my safety in general.
Well, all of these things that we go through create the over-functioning woman, the woman with high cortisol, as everyone knows. We're all trying to fix. We're in full fight or flight, and we can't settle down. We can't settle our nervous systems, and that is the only thing that's going to bring you back to reality, is to slow down, because we're constantly over-functioning and overdoing because it is an avoidance of what's going on. And it's also the way that we've tried to self-soothe before, is to just keep going. Don't notice that we're not safe right now. Just try to get to the next point of being safe.
Yeah, what do they say about women? When we get upset, we start cleaning.
Yeah.
And it's like this, it's that self-soothe. Like, and instead of sitting back and saying, what has been threatened in my life to where I feel like I have to react like this? Or what has happened to me before to where this just triggered me? And face it. But yeah, why is that even a thing for us? Like, what caused us to be like, oh, I'm going to start cleaning, I'm pissed off? I don't know. I don't feel like I really do that anymore.
Oh my gosh, I do.
I still do.
I feel like a clean home does protect my safety, though. I feel very,
Is that what
I
it
feel
is?
safer.
'Cause I do.
I feel more like relaxed in a clean home. I know that when my house has gotten to its limit, I know that I'm like, I've got to clean this home because it will calm me down. It will relax my nervous system.
It's rewarding, I guess. So
Well, it's
it
also
does
about
sound-
control.
It goes back to control.
So when
Can't control
everything
what's going on, but I can control my house.
exactly when
Yeah.
everything is going on that
My
you
house
feel
is
like
clean.
you can't control anything, that's the one thing
have
I
no
can.
problems. My house is clean. I have no problems.
Yep.
Everything looks
Light a
perfect.
candle.
Light a candle.
Yep. Because that's what it is about. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
if when we're not feeling safe, it also means that we're not feeling in control of our body. Our nervous system is running high. Our mood swings are running high. We're feeling all over the place. What can I control right now? And
the vacuum.
yep, the only thing that listens.
Oh, yeah. What about, let me ask, what about women who don't have a partner? A husband,
Yeah.
a spouse? You know, those women out there that are struggling on their own, they're not even dealing with safety issues with a spouse. How can they? Because I know a lot of single women, they struggle with this. You know, they're living on their own. And Brianna, you can probably go back. You're the most newly married, and you can remember back when you were living in your apartments. You know, you're going home alone. So safety issues, there's a lot of things about being safe. Safe going into your home by yourself, being alone. How do women who are alone deal with their safety issues?
So, if I could tell my younger self anything, it's that to truly get in tuned with what actually threatens your safety and really get very clear about it. Like, where do I feel I'm not safe? So that you can set the standard for the man that may come into your life. I did not know this about myself, and I did not understand, the essence of my biology. If you don't know what threatens your safety, you will allow anybody to threaten your safety. So get very clear on, this is the needs that I need. This is the criteria of what I need for a future partner. And when you're alone, due to this timing of your life, you do have to learn to provide that safety for yourself. And you do have the opportunity to find other women and other friends that can give you that safety. Find even male friendships. And if you have those, that's your tool for right now. You have yourself and you have your friendships. But get very clear, because you will allow a partner to threaten your safety if you do not know what actually makes you not feel safe.
A lot of women don't think about that. I don't remember thinking about that until recently. We've taken this new journey on learning things about our biological nature. as a
Yeah,
woman.
because we're not taught about our biology
not.
as
No.
women.
No.
Nobody told us that your essence, the very thing that you need for survival, is safety.
Yeah.
We're not taught
I was
that.
gonna say, I think just in the last couple of years, I've realized, what am I missing? What is not here? And it's the standard. I have not created a standard of what feels safe for me.
Yeah.
And once you create that and you create those boundaries, you will automatically start feeling safer because you can step up and provide that safety. And then when you put it on anyone that you're involved in, whether it be your husband or your friends, and you have a clear expectation of what provides you safety, then they can meet those needs. But if you don't realize that the whole problem in the beginning was you just don't feel safe, there's nothing to compare it to. There's no standard because you don't even know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Safety is so huge. If you think back, from the time you are born into this world, you're wrapped into a blanket, and you are put in the hands of two parents, hopefully, and you're trusting them. So from birth, I'm realizing now safety was, if I would have evaluated my safety issue, I would have not gone down some of the path that I went. Safety was never a thought. Even though in my subconscious, that was what was coming forward, I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have learned that early on. Yep.
Well, we can talk about how babies are not born into safe
they're not.
environments.
Exactly.
No, they're not.
And so from day one, when your safety is threatened, and it becomes a pattern of now my father may not be safe, my mother may not be safe, my home that I live in, these four walls are not safe. So, to no surprise that women are out there seeking it in any way.
Any form and fashion. Yeah.
And so, yeah, we do have to return to ourselves, to the essence of who we are. Instead of hiding it, we need to set a standard. It is a standard for how my children are brought into this world, how my children will be treated in these four walls.
Yeah.
I mean, think about just a few years ago, the whole spanking children.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
My own mother and father were taught to spank me because that's what they were told was best.
Yeah.
So right then and there, me as a girl who literally is young and is seeking safety is now no longer safe in these four walls.
Yep.
And then you're never taught that this is what you need. And how contradicting when it's like, I feel like I need to be safe and I'm being hurt because I don't want to eat mac and cheese and peas.
Well, I never spanked you for that.
Well, I know. But like,
But that's
but
about where
there's
it
some
goes.
children
Yes.
that are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
we're just being hit
Yeah.
because we're not doing what we're told. And then it's just like the very people that are supposed to keep us safe are the ones that are hurting us. So then you're upset when we get into abusive relationships.
Yeah. I was going to say, when the standard isn't set or that's what you think safety is, no wonder you're falling for the same repetitiveness in other relationships. So it is very important, and it is very hard, especially growing up when you're younger. You're believing that the world that you live in is supposed to be this safe place, and having to logically explain to yourself that this is not safe. And how are we going to figure that out when you're just such a little kid, and let alone come into adulthood and really understand what is safe? We're still learning it.
Yeah, do
Still
you ever
learning
really
what
know?
is fully safe.
Yeah. You got to get in tune with it.
Yeah.
You do.
You got to write it down. You've got to really establish what makes me feel fear and what makes me feel safe.
If those things don't truly make you feel safe, let's not continue to do those to yourself, to your children, to your husband. If it doesn't make you feel safe, it's not making anyone else feel safe. So recognizing it doesn't only help you, it helps everyone around you, so you can also provide safety.
Yeah. There is a level for us as women to really bring forth this knowledge to the world and to really demand our safety and demand it from humans in general, but from men especially. And men have the opportunity to restore humanity when they actually take on the duty of keeping a woman safe. What does that even mean in this world? And to me, it means you keep an eye on the woman around you, but you do not need to speak to us. I do not know you. I don't know where you come from. You do not need to talk to me, but if you could keep an eye on me as I'm putting my groceries away in a car and I'm putting my child away, you make sure that there's no one else around. I remember being a barber for the last 10 years. The amount of men that will make comments to you. I can't even think of all the moments that when a man has sat in my chair and has said something to me that has made me not feel safe. And it's time to wake the fuck up, gentlemen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you have a role in this world to play, and it is to keep a woman safe. But when you lose that connection to your biology, you then begin to say humiliating, uncomfortable comments to women, and then you wonder why women are pissed.
Yes. Yep.
And it's time to restore humanity. Women, set the standard for your safety and return to your voice. And if I could go back, I would find my voice and tell those gentlemen what they just said to me was wrong.
Yep.
But how uncomfortable I was clammed me up so much and shut my voice down.
Right.
And I'm thankful for this episode because I really am finding in myself where I've allowed my voice to be shut down.
Right.
Yep.
And it is when my safety is threatened.
Yes.
And so in this life and in humanity, we need to sometimes be more vocal as to people around us that are threatening our safety. It doesn't have to be rude.
When you know that your standard is set for your safety, you're able to vocalize. There's no more backing down. There's no more shutting up. There's no more just going with the flow and trying to be this meek person and this, soft woman.
Right.
No.
No. The
Stand
masculine has to
up.
come
Yeah.
out.
And sometimes you do have to find that inside of you to provide your safety.
Yeah. I think about the lioness with her children, like I'm Lion King or something. And when her territory, her children are being threatened, she comes out with a big roar.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes the emotional side of a woman, of the I don't want to hurt your feelings, I don't want to embarrass you, those things, the empath woman, she's like, I don't want to hurt his feelings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, when a man or when anything, another human, it could be another sister, it could be anybody that is threatening your safety, you may have to roar.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And if you don't, you're going to get a bite conflict. And that's why I grind my teeth all night.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need to learn to speak up for yourself. You need to learn to let everyone know what you're needing and how you're needing it.
Well, the first step is to be in a calm, direct, firm tone.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, men, tend to push the limit, and then you have to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And then fists come out. And I will punch. I'll knock a man out.
Completely killed. She's completely killed woman.
Yep. You mess with me in minds, that's it.
Yep.
You have to, then you cross that line.
Oh, yeah. But I think as a woman, we do hold the power to restore this the most. And that is coming back into our voice
Yeah.
and setting boundaries, communicating our boundaries, communicating what doesn't make us feel safe, and truly knowing what does safety mean to me? And how will I provide and create safety in this world for myself and for my offspring?
Right.
Yes.
And this is a podcast where there is no shame, no guilt, nothing to be ashamed of after you hear this podcast. This is a learning experience. This is something that we have learned along the way.
Still learning.
Still trying to learn, still trying to navigate. But as a collective, as women here to build each other up and to sit with each other on how we can restore humanity, how we can restore the essence of who we are, we hold a lot of power. And so don't take this as you're doing something wrong or you were dealt the wrong cards. This is just a chance for all of us to continue evolving to make this world better.
Yep. And if you need a community, you want some sisters, follow us. We're here anytime. Return home to us. We'll see you next Friday.
Well, we'll see you on, I don't know, in a couple weeks maybe. We got to get the editing figured out.
We will see you soon.
Yeah. No guarantees.
We're all just finding our way back to ourselves, one honest conversation at a time. Catch you next time on the Return Home